Ever feel like you're on that emotional roller coaster? Ups, downs, all those twists and turns.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to try to help you get a handle on that wild ride
Okay.
by exploring a technique that can really help you, I think, understand and manage your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And that is journaling.
Interesting.
You shared an article with me. It's called How Journaling Can Help You Get Your Emotions in Check.
Right.
So we are diving deep into that today.
Well, that's a great choice because I think that feeling of being on an emotional roller coaster is something we all experience.
Yeah.
And I think it stems from the fact that so often we kind of let our emotions control us instead of us, being in control of them.
So are we talking about becoming like some sort of emotionless robot then?
Not at all. Emotional regulation, which is what we're talking about here, is really about, recognizing what you're feeling,
Okay.
understanding why you're feeling it,
Right.
and then choosing how you want to respond.
Okay.
It's kind of like surfing. You acknowledge the wave,
Uh-huh.
but you learn to ride it instead of letting it just like crash over you.
I like that analogy, yeah.
Yeah.
I've tried journaling in the past,
Mm-hmm.
but I often felt stuck.
Okay.
What makes it so effective for regulating emotions? Like, what is it that actually makes it work?
Well, one of the really cool things is that there's actually a neurological basis for this.
Oh, interesting.
Our brains have these two key players.
Okay.
The prefrontal cortex, which is the logical thinking part of our brain, and then the amygdala, which is the emotional center.
Okay.
You can almost imagine them as like engaged in this sort of tug of war.
Oh, wow.
So, when we get overwhelmed by emotions, it's like the amygdala is just like screaming,
Yeah.
and the prefrontal cortex is really struggling to even be heard.
Interesting. So how does journaling then help our brains, I guess, become better surfers in that analogy?
Well, you can kind of think of your journal as this like safe space to process all those really intense feelings, kind of a mental detox, if you will.
Right. There was a study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, and they found that writing about emotional experiences for just 15 minutes a day for 4 days
Wow.
led to significant reductions in stress levels.
Okay.
It's like venting, but with a purpose.
So we're not just getting things off our chest, we're actually helping our brains process and regulate those emotions more effectively.
Exactly. Journaling helps us to identify recurring themes and triggers, which can then allow us to anticipate our emotional responses.
Gotcha.
It's like you're mapping out your emotional landscape.
So if my emotional landscape has a lot of mountains, does that mean I'm more prone to outbursts or?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's really about understanding your own unique terrain.
Okay.
And that's where journaling can be so valuable.
All right, so let's say I'm ready to grab my journal and start mapping things out.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a right way to do it?
Like some people might say that dwelling on negative emotions in a journal can be counterproductive. What's your take on that?
I think the most important thing is to be honest and authentic.
Okay.
And don't censor yourself.
Right.
This is your private space.
Yeah.
Remember, you're not dwelling.
Yeah.
You're investigating.
Okay.
You're becoming like an emotional forensic scientist.
Interesting.
Examining the evidence of your feelings to understand their origins.
Okay.
And this is where, those specific journal prompts that you mentioned from the article can be really, really handy.
Okay.
They offer these structured ways to kind of examine your emotions.
Got it. I'm ready to explore those prompts.
Okay.
Let's dive into some specifics.
Okay, so these prompts are like different lenses to help you kind of see your emotions more clearly.
Okay.
The first one is about, really getting to the root of a specific emotion.
Okay.
Like a detective gathering clues. It asks, what's going on right now that's making me feel insert emotion? What triggered this feeling?
So it's like understanding the context, the crime scene of our emotions.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's about digging deeper
Yes.
than just labeling the emotion.
Yeah. Sometimes I realize I'm frustrated, but I haven't really thought about, what set it off.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, you're feeling anxious.
Mm-hmm.
This prompt encourages you to ask, is it a deadline at work? A disagreement with a loved one?
Right.
Identifying that trigger allows you to think about strategies for managing your response the next time you encounter a similar situation.
It's like developing a plan of action for those emotional hotspots.
Exactly.
Okay. What's the next prompt?
So this one focuses on those moments when you're already feeling overwhelmed.
Okay.
And it asks, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, what's one thing I can do to calm myself down?
Okay.
This helps you build your personal toolkit.
I like that. A toolkit.
Yeah, for those emotional emergencies.
So we're talking about things like taking a walk, listening to music,
Hmm.
or even just taking a few deep breaths.
Exactly. It could be physical or mental.
Right.
Whatever helps you kind of hit the pause button.
Yeah.
The key is to find what works for you
Right.
and have those strategies ready to go when those big waves hit.
So it's like building up a muscle. Like
Yeah.
the more we practice those calming techniques,
Yes.
the more natural they'll become.
Exactly. It's about training your brain to react differently.
Right.
Now, this next prompt invites us to kind of consider our need for support.
Okay.
It asks, what do I need right now to feel supported?
This one feels important.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm so in the thick of it that I forget to think about what I actually need.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to just stay stuck in that loop.
All right. It's a good reminder that we're not meant to go through these things alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes, that support might be calling a friend or talking to a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Other times, it might be something you do for yourself. Taking a bath, reading a book, anything that really nourishes you.
So it's about giving ourselves permission to ask for what we need, both from others and from ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay, what about the next one?
This one is fascinating. It asks, what would I say to a friend who is experiencing what I'm feeling right now?
I've noticed that I can be way harder on myself than I would ever be on a friend.
Uh-huh.
Why is that?
Well, it's very common.
Yeah.
We tend to hold ourselves to these impossible standards.
Yeah.
This prompt helps us to tap into that inner voice of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reminder that we deserve that same kindness and understanding that we so readily offer to others.
I remember a time when I was feeling incredibly stressed about a work project, and I was just beating myself up about not being able to handle it all.
Mm-hmm.
But if a friend had come to me with the same problem, I would have been so much more understanding and supportive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This prompt is like putting on our compassionate friend hat
Yeah.
and offering ourselves that same level of support.
Right.
Sometimes just hearing those words, even if we're saying them to ourselves, can make a huge difference.
Right.
Okay, are you ready for the final prompt?
Hit me with it.
All right. This one focuses on empowering ourselves by shifting our perspective.
Okay.
And it asks, how can I reframe this situation to empower myself?
So instead of focusing on the negative, we're looking for the opportunity, the silver lining.
Yes. Okay.
We're taking back control of the narrative.
Right.
It's about asking, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this experience?
Right.
This is where that concept of emotional regulation really comes full circle.
Okay.
Instead of letting the emotion dictate our actions,
Mm-hmm.
we're choosing how we respond.
These prompts are great. They really break things down in a way that makes journaling feel less daunting, I think.
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you personally used any of these prompts to kind of navigate a tricky situation?
Absolutely. I remember a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like these prompts could be really powerful tools for understanding and just managing our emotions better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely going to be trying these out in my own journal.
I encourage you to. I think you'll find it really revealing. And
Uh-huh.
and remember, there's no right or wrong way to journal.
Right.
It's a personal journey,
Yeah.
a process of exploration.
So it's about finding what works for us and just being open to discovering new things about ourselves along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose
Mm.
how we respond to our emotions.
Right.
We're not victims of our circumstances.
So we've talked about the science behind emotional regulation and how journaling can help us tap into that.
Right.
We've explored these fantastic journal prompts.
Yes.
What are some key takeaways that you want to leave our listener with?
Well, first, I hope you walk away understanding that emotional regulation is a skill
Okay.
that can be learned and strengthened with practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's like building any muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets.
So it's not something that happens overnight, but a journey that unfolds over time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's important to remember that emotional regulation isn't about becoming emotionless.
Right.
It's about understanding and accepting your emotions, but not letting them control you.
It's about being the captain of your own ship, navigating those emotional waters with awareness and skill.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
And journaling is a great tool to help you chart that course. It provides that safe space to explore your inner world and learn how to respond to those emotional waves rather than just reacting.
It's like having a personal compass to guide you through those sometimes choppy seas.
Before we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with a final thought.
Okay.
Think back to a recent time when you felt really overwhelmed by your emotions.
Okay.
How might you have approached that situation differently using the techniques and the prompts that we've discussed today?
That's a great challenge, I think. It encourages us to really put this knowledge into action and start creating those positive changes in our lives.
Exactly. We hope this deep dive has empowered you to understand and manage your emotions more effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, you have the power within you to create a calmer, more fulfilling emotional experience.
Absolutely.
Grab that journal and start exploring.